Humanity has always wanted a machine that could think, and has always been willing not to look too closely at how it does it. Vienna, 1770. An inventor named Wolfgang von Kempelen wheels a life-size figure before the Empress Maria Theresa and promises a machine that plays chess. Then, before a single move, he opens the cabinet beneath it, a dense mass of brass cogwheels and cylinders, a candle glowing behind them, and swings each door wide to show the compartments are empty. Nothing but clockwork, nothing inside. What the open doors revealed was a turbaned figure at a chessboard, gears behind it, waiting. A courtier makes a move. The figure lifts its head, turns to the board, and reaches out with its own hand to answer. It plays a full game of chess, and it wins. It almost always wins. One after another, the Empress's best players sit down, and one after another they lose to a wooden man in a turban. And before it was finished, that same machine would sit across the board from emperors and the cleverest men in Europe. Nobody in the room can account for it. Almost at once, a whisper follows it around the court. Surely there is a man hidden inside. There has to be. People say it, and keep watching the wooden man win anyway. Kempelen himself seems faintly embarrassed by it. He would rather build steam engines and a speaking machine, so he packs the chess player away as a novelty, and it sits. Until, in 1781, the Emperor Joseph II orders it back out to entertain a visiting Russian Grand Duke. It returned to the road, and this time the greatest players in the world were waiting. Paris, the chess capital of the world. François-André Danican Philidor, the strongest player alive, sits down across the board from the Turk before members of the Academy of Sciences, and Philidor beats it. His son would later recall that no human opponent had ever tired his father more. So the Turk was not unbeatable. It just, mostly, won. But against nearly everyone else, the Turk prevailed. Benjamin Franklin, then in Paris, sat down at the board and lost. The Turk won and lost exactly like a very strong human being would, which was, of course, the one tale nobody in the room wanted to read. It toured the courts of Europe, and Europe kept a record. In 1789, a curious German named Joseph Rachnitz publishes what he swears is the whole explanation. A grown man, he argues, is folded inside the cabinet, working the Turk from within. He even prints diagrams. The mystery, he declares, is solved. And it changed nothing at all. A secret cannot be sold twice. And for a while the crowds thinned, exactly as one would expect. Then the machine came back out of its crate, as it would, on and off, for half a century more, and the queues formed anyway. People had read a solution in print. They bought tickets regardless. Kempelen died, and the Turk went quiet. The next year, his son sold it to Johann Nepomuk Maelzel, the Turk om Insedek Masulti, showman, inventor, the man who would popularize the metronome. The secret changed hands with a bill of sale. Whatever was doing the thinking, it could now be owned. Napoleon Bonaparte sits down to play, and here, so the stories told decades later say, he tries an illegal move to see what the machine will do. The Turk, the tale goes, puts the piece back. He cheats again, and the Turk sweeps the whole board clear and refuses to continue. Whether it happened quite like that, no one can prove. 1819, London. Charles Babbage plays the Turk and loses. He plays it a second time and loses again. This is the man who would spend his life designing engines of brass and iron to compute by machine, the work that earns him, ever after, the title Father of the Computer. 3 years after losing to the Turk, he begins the first of those engines, the difference engine. 2 facts, in that order. Babbage came away suspecting one thing. The machine was not thinking. Someone was hidden inside, working it. He simply could not see how. Maelzel packed the Turk onto a ship and brought it across the Atlantic. Baltimore, New York, Boston. A wooden ottoman playing chess is exactly as strange there as it was in Vienna, and it packs the houses all over again. He advertised it up and down the country, a paid attraction. 1827, Baltimore. Two boys climb onto a roof overlooking the exhibition hall, and they say, "Watch a man climb out of the cabinet after the audience has gone." The local paper prints the whole story. The next night, the show went on, unbothered. Then it went further. In 1834, a Paris magazine printed the full method. Sold to it, one chess writer later said, by a man named Mouret, who claimed he had once worked the machine from the inside. The whole secret for the price of a single issue. The Turk went right on winning, and then the most famous writer in America joined in. In 1836, Edgar Allan Poe published an essay called Maelzel's Chess Player, arguing, elegantly and at length, that a man must be inside and naming the man he suspected. Poe did not crack it first. Others were years ahead of him. He simply argued it in beautiful prose, and everyone came to see for themselves. By this point, guessing that there was a man inside had become something close to a public pastime on two continents. The line at the door never once got shorter. William Schlumberger, who had travelled with the Turk for most of the American years, died of yellow fever early that year. Maelzel, sailing home from a tour that had stopped making money, died at sea a few months later. Both of them quietly. Schlumberger was, by most accounts, the strongest player the Turk ever hid. He was the strength. The brass and the turban were only the costume. After he was gone, the Turk still had its robe and its board. But it went quiet. It never really played again. And then a fire broke out in a Philadelphia museum late at night, and the Turk, robe, cabinet, turbaned head and all, burned with the building. The most famous machine in the world was simply gone. And for a while, that was the end of the story. Except that in 1857, the son of the Turk's last owner, a young doctor named Silas Weir Mitchell, sat down and published the entire mechanism in a chess magazine, in full. No more guessing. So now, at last, we can go inside. A genuine period cutaway of the operator's hidden compartment. Inside the cabinet, a man, folded onto a sliding seat on iron rails. The chessmen above were magnetic. Iron discs underneath read every move. He works a pantograph lever that drives the Turk's arm, a candle for light. And when the doors were opened, one by one, the operator slid the seat and swung the false machinery aside, folding into whatever space the open door was not. So every door ever opened on that cabinet had been showing the honest truth. That compartment really was empty, because the man had just slid, silently, to wherever the open door wasn't. The doors were never the lie. The doors were the truth. So here is who was actually winning all those games. Johann Alger, Boncourt, Aaron Alexandra, William Lewis, Mouret, William Schlumberger, some of the strongest chess players in Europe, one at a time, folded in the dark. And before all of them, the very first operator, in Kempelen's own day, whose name was never written down. The one secret the trick actually kept. The machine worked perfectly. It always had. The only trouble was how it worked. A person folded in the dark, doing the actual thinking, and sold to the room as clockwork. That is one of the oldest moves in technology. The Turk's real trick was never the clockwork. It was a room full of people who would rather not look too closely at how the machine worked. That trick has never stopped working.